Hello and welcome to Spokane County Spotlight. I'm Commissioner Mary Cuney and today my guest is Vicki Carter. She is the Director for Spokane Conservation District. Thank you for joining us today, Vicki.
Well, thank you for having me, Commissioner Cuney.
And so I'm excited to discuss some of the Conservation District's programs and projects. But before we do that, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. I started back in 1986 when I moved to Spokane just to go to school, to go to college here. And in 1991, I ended up going to work for the Spokane Conservation District. So if you do the quick math on that, I've been there about 29 years and I've held different positions, operations manager, operations director, and then in 2011 I took over as the director for the Spokane Conservation District.
Wow, so you've been there a long time.
I have, yes.
You know this well. So thank you for that introduction. And then can you tell our viewers an overview of the Spokane Conservation District and kind of what that does?
A little bit of history, I can. So Conservation District history really dates clear back to the Dust Bowl era. So back in the 30s when our country was experiencing the soil loss and soil erosion that was blowing across the U.S., there was a number of storms for many years, but one of them in particular was called the Black Blizzard, and it happened to hit Washington, D.C. at a very timely manner. And in that time, the legislature was meeting, Congress was meeting and talking about this problem that we were experiencing all across America. So in 1935, they enacted some federal law, which they called an agency, the Soil Conservation Service. We know it today as our Natural Resource Conservation Service. And so that's our federal portion of soil and water conservation. From that federal legislation, they gave powers to each state to enact local legislation or state legislation. So in 1939, Washington State adopted law then, which is our RCW 8908, that's our enabling law, to form conservation districts. So in Washington, we have 45 conservation districts, but there are over 3,000 across the U.S., in the U.S. and the U.S. territories. So there's one in just about every county. In 1941, Spokane County got its first conservation district. From 41 to 1973, they ended up having 4 conservation districts here in our county, and then they consolidated back down to just one. So that's what we have today and what we know as the Spokane Conservation District.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
No, the history of that is interesting, coming from the Dust Bowl era,
right,
to today, because there's a lot that's going on with the Conservation District. And so,
right,
so I'd like to hear some of the programs and what the Conservation District today is providing us.
Well, and you're right. So our enabling law was about water and about soil conservation, but it's really much broader than that. It is all of our natural resources. So our mission, or if you will, our statement of purpose is to promote the sustainability of our natural resources. So in Spokane County, we have over 1.1 million acres of land. We have 68 lakes. We have over 500 miles of streams, tributaries, rivers, that sort of thing that we're charged with taking care of. In addition to that, we have a population of about 500,000 people now in Spokane County. You probably know that figure better than I do. So there's about 500,000 people. And then we have our conservation district. So we're really charged with all of those natural resources, which again range from forestry to soil health to water quality to wildlife enhancement, and there's a lot to do.
Yes. No, and there's a lot that I know personally that you've helped with. Several of the lakes around have had issues, and the
Yes.
Conservation District has been there to help those lakes. And I think sometimes we forget we're in a population center here in Spokane, but we're enjoying all those other nature features that we have, and a lot of agriculture in Spokane County.
Absolutely.
And
yes.
so you guys do a lot.
We do. We have a number of programs that are directly involved in agriculture, both large scale agriculture as well as small acreage, our landowners that have what we call 5 to 80 acres. So we have programs for them as well. But you're right, one of the most beautiful things about Spokane County is the diversity that we have here in our land type, from our forested areas to our agricultural fields to all of the different water bodies that we enjoy here. And we have worked with a number of the lakes around this area.
Okay, and then the other thing I wanted to ask you about is, the national awards that you have received, because we're very proud of our conservation district here in
Thank you.
Spokane County,
Yeah.
and so I wanted to give you an opportunity just to mention that briefly.
Well, so as I said, there's 3,000 conservation districts across the U.S., again, 45 in the state of Washington, and not all of them are as big as we are in Washington state. I believe we're the second largest in the state of Washington due to the number of programs that we have, the dollars that we bring in, and the population that we serve. Now, there's King County and Pierce County and all of those too, but it just depends on where those borders are for the county is how the size is determined. But Spokane County Conservation District, we've been able to receive some national attention for some of the programs that we've developed, and we can talk more about those, but a couple of them are our Edge of Field Monitoring Program, which I want to be able to tell our audience about, and also Vets on the Farm, which I know you're very familiar with, and a few others. So I attended our national meeting last February, and we did receive a national award.
So that's very exciting.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everyone in Spokane County should be very proud
I
of
hope
what you're
so.
doing. So thank you.
We're kind of one of those best kept secrets that maybe it's getting out there now, which is a good thing.
No, it is. So one of the things, the Spokane County Board of Commissioners recently approved a $5 increase in conservation district rates and charges for the first time in 21 years. So it was $5, it increased to $10 with that $5 increase. Can you speak about how that new revenue will be used and what you do with that?
Yes, I would. Thank you for bringing that up too, because I really look at this as an opportunity to inform and educate people about rates and charges and about what was prior to that. So from 1991 until July 30th, just of this year, we were under what we called a local assessment or a special assessment. And that legislation was actually written by our former county commissioners back in 89 and 90, and then it was actually put into formal legislation through the state in 1991. Spokane County was the very first conservation district in Washington state to have an assessment. And what that assessment really allowed us to do was provide some stable funding to the programs that we offer. We're not a state agency, and so we don't have funding that's direct from the state legislature. So to be able to have those types of resources gives us the ability to put better programming, to have better conservation on the ground, to be able to serve our landowners and really take care of our natural resources in the way that they need to and deserve to be taken care of. So we started with the assessment, and that was $5. In 2014 or about there, the legislature moved to what they called a rates and charges system, and it really identified this system of indirect benefit to all landowners. And with an assessment, they wanted to see more of a direct user benefit. So, but we weren't big enough as far as our population base to make that change yet. They were looking at conservation districts, or excuse me, counties that were a population of over 464,000. So we renewed in 2014 just as our regular assessment and at $5 and didn't ever change. Well, we're now well over that 464,000. And not only that, the programs that we provide, everything is increasing in cost, and we haven't had an increase in 21 years. So I know it sounds like it's a big jump from $5 to $10. Yes, it is double, but when you look at that over the span of time, $5 a year increase is 42 cents per parcel per year, or $50 over the 10-year period that we hold each one of our rates and charges or assessment. So the significance of it is really minimal when you look at the overall impact that it's going to have for all of us and for our natural resources.
And I think, as you said earlier, you're the best kept secret, but you're getting out there and people are finding out about you, and so more and more people are using your services.
Yes, and we want that too. And if there's one thing I think we are well known for, it's our tree cell. We have been doing that since 1973. Our tree cell this year, we put out 90,000 seedlings. Those are just small trees and shrubs that go out and get planted mostly in Spokane County. And that was 1,100 customers that came through our doors in 2 days. So oftentimes when I do speaking engagements and say I'm Spokane Conservation District, oh, you're the tree people. And yes, we are, but we are really so much more than that too. We have so many other programs to be able to offer the public, some of which are free. We offer a lot of free services in the way of assessments or sick and disease tree assessments, technical assistance. People can just come in our office, and if we can't help them, we will find who can. Most often, though, we have a way of being able to help them. So they can come into the office, but we also have, in some of our programs, we have some financial assistance too. And those are the programs that I think more and more people are getting to know us by. For instance, we have an on-site septic and sewer replacement program. So there's a lot of folks that haven't connected to the sewer yet, and that's a costly expense.
Right.
We have low interest loans that we can help make that bridge or that transition for them. And so if they hadn't known us before, that might be one of the first ways they're introduced to us. We're trying to push that out through the county, and we've had some great partnerships with the different departments and divisions of the county too.
No, that's great. And so one of the things with the rates and charges increase, going from the 5 to 10, the other thing that I know that allows you to is to leverage those dollars.
Oh, absolutely.
And so can you talk about that it's not just that assessment that's coming in, it's that assessment then gets multiplied by the ability to get the grants.
That's right. Yeah, that is absolutely right. So the assessment really makes up it'll be, in 2020, it'll be about $2 million of our entire budget, which we run between a $6 and a $6.5 million annual budget. But we can take those dollars then and leverage them so we can get 3 to 4 times the amount of money. That's how we make up that other $4.5 million, is through grants and awards. And how that works is a lot of those grants require a cash match or some sort of a match. So we can use those dollars to match against that, and then that enables us to be able to receive those larger awards. 3 years ago, we received the federal RCPP award. That brought $15 million over a 5-year period right into Spokane County. So we were able to leverage that kind of funding, which definitely improves our natural resources, but it also helps us in our economic base for Spokane.
No, it's very true, and I think, again, it just provides the opportunity to get to more people and help more people.
Absolutely.
And speaking of the trees, I was one of those affected by the Valley View fire,
Yes.
and it was the Conservation District that came up to help us assess
Right.
the trees that were left on our property after the fire came through. So,
And we were actually out there before the fire. We had just started the Valley View community as a Firewise community. That's a program that we have. And we'd already done the site assessment. So we worked with landowners, went onto their property and did a free assessment for them to help ready them in the event of a wildfire. And of course, we know it's not a matter of if, it's when.
Correct.
Especially where we live in this eastern part of Washington. And unfortunately, that fire struck, I think, just 2 weeks after we were in the area, and a lot of those homeowners, did not have time to implement. But we lost 11 homes, I think, in that fire.
Correct.
The folks that did have that green space and had already taken some preventative measures, their homes were the ones that were probably saved.
Yeah.
So we love Firewise. That's a great program that we offer.
It is. No, I highly recommend it to anybody who has, trees in their, close to their home and on their acreage. So the other thing I want to just ask too is, how does Spokane County residents benefit from supporting the Conservation District? So maybe some of the other programs.
Well, sure. Of course, that, again, going back to our roots with clean water and air, when we can keep our water clean, and when we can keep our soil on the land and not blowing around, and when we can keep wildfire from destroying homes and structures and that sort of thing, publicly we all benefit. That's a huge benefit to all of us. So there's an indirect benefit for all of that. But on an individual basis, again, our homeowners, landowners, land users can come in, and we give that free technical service on just about every subject that has to do with natural resources. We also, again, have some financial assistance programs. But what that really looks like is somebody can come in for a soil test. We have a lab in our building, and we do soil testing for just your everyday gardener, or for some of those small acreage land uses as well. We have our entire forestry department, and that's urban forestry as well as wild forest or forests and forestry. So we offer all kinds of services in the way of sick and disease tree removal. We work with the county and right-of-way projects, that sort of thing. We work with landowners all the time on stream bank restoration projects. One of our favorites is the Willow Warrior Project, which is a voluntary day. We ask for folks to come in, and we go out on Hangman Creek primarily in canoes. And I think this program's going on its like 9th year now, but they go out and they plant thousands of willows that actually plug into the stream bank and hold that soil. And we know how volatile Hangman Creek can be. And so those willows act as a web as they grow their roots. And that's one of our most favorite days for our volunteers to be involved in. But so we have that project. We have education programs. We have a fantastic educator. She does K through 16 and adult education. We do rain barrel workshops. We do vermiculture. We do fish in the classroom. There's so many programs. Sometimes when I think about them, I'm overwhelmed myself. It's just like there are so many things. There really and truly is something for everyone. I like to say we're the one-stop shop for natural resource management.
Yeah. Well, and the fish in the classroom, it's like I know that program through the schools that my kids have gone to, and I think
good.
so most parents would recognize that, and where you bringing trout in and they're growing them in the classroom.
Yeah, they are. In fact, one of the teachers provided some testimony, you'll remember from our public hearing process, and she said that program was one of the reasons some of her hardest kids, some of those kids that really don't like school or don't enjoy school, that program was what got them to school every day because they wanted to see those fish. They wanted to see them grow. They wanted to feed them. They had a reason for wanting to go to school. So that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, and so when they do that, then they go and release them.
Yes. Yeah.
So I mean that's just a fun way. It's just like gardening, but doing it with fish to for the kids.
Yes.
And I believe it's at the 5th grade level.
Yes, it is 5th grade.
So another program that just really hits so many people in so many different ways.
Yeah. So and that's just a good example. It's all the way from our youngsters to homeowners, people that are gardening. We really have something for everyone.
Yeah. So my next question is just kind of talking about the recent improvements that you have at the Conservation District.
Oh, sure. We've got some
you have
really
so
great
many.
new programs.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, so one of them that we're excited about this year is called the South Spokane Farm Corridor. And what we found was that there's a number of farms, small acreages and small farms in that corridor area. And really that's, if you think south of I-90 and then bordered by Highway 27 and Highway 195. And there's just a growing number of farms, but there's no collaboration around those. And we wanted to be able to, kind of wrap some arms around them and be able to give them the opportunity as farmers to have that collaboration and coordination, and also to start driving consumers to them, because they have these small farm stands going, but there's nothing that brings them together in unity. So we started the South Spokane Farm Corridor, and we're having great success with it already. We had a kickoff in May at the top of the border, which was at the Moran Prairie Grange, and then in the fall, in October, we're going to have a fall harvest or a fall festival, and that'll be down in Valley Ford. But it's really connecting the consumer with their local farmer, because we believe in our local food system. There's some numbers out there that we bring in $1.5 billion worth of food into Spokane County, and we're only producing 4 million with an M. So the billion versus the million, and we can change some of that. We can keep those dollars here locally, and we can eat better food. We can have more local food that hasn't been shipped for miles and miles and miles.
No, and so many restaurants want to do farm to table.
Yes.
So that's a great way. Now, one of the projects down there that I'd like to make sure we talk about is Vets on the Farm.
Oh yeah, well.
So that's part of that corridor.
That is part of the corridor, absolutely, and probably my pet project too. One that's very special to me, very near and dear. So Vets on the Farm is a transition program for our military folks that are transitioning out of their military career or service and looking for that new mission. And a lot of them find that their skill set is directly transferable into agriculture. So we've provided a program, we've built a program for them to come in. We teach some principles of agriculture. We put them through a course with WSU Extension. We work very closely with their Cultivating Success course as a kind of an education component to our program. And we help them really explore small farming and ranching. And it's been wildly successful. We're just starting this spring will be our 5th year that we're starting. We've brought in over 200 veterans into the program. We have a farm stand that's on the farm. And in fact, we're just out on the old Palouse Highway, 7524 South Ellis Road. Farm stand is open Wednesdays and Saturdays, but our newest feature is our refrigerated truck, which they are so excited about. So on Thursdays, they truck our produce off the farm, and they have different stops, different businesses that they sell right off the truck to. So our new slogan is "We're on the grow."
I like that.
That's a great program.
Yes, no. And so what other types of big goals and ideas do you have?
Well, one of the things that I really want to focus on in the next coming years is farmland preservation. We are losing our farm ground at a rapid rate from 02 to 12, so that 10-year period of time. Spokane County lost 106,000 acres of farmable ground. And that's just continuing. And it's not to say that we're against development. We're not. We understand the need for homes, and people have to have a place to live. But we also have to eat, and we also have to be able to provide food, and we need to be able to be thinking about that for the future. When we talk about, we have our own community, but we have 9 billion people that are going to be on this earth. And so we need to look at the reality of where's our food going to come from. And not only that, but what is the quality of it? And we know that when we have our food closer and your farmer, you're going to get a better quality, higher quality food product. So that's one of the things that we really want to start some focus on, and we want to look at ways to, when those properties maybe come up for sale, and certainly we understand property rights and that people have the right to sell their property and do what they will, but if they're up for sale, is there a way that we can bank some of that into farm ground? And there are some different programs out there, but none of them are well funded. They're never enough. So we're just looking into exploring that and trying to think more long term. Than even the next 20 years, but let's talk about the next 50 years. Let's talk about the next 100 years. So that's one of the things that we're excited about and wanting to spend some time on.
Okay, anything else that you're seeing kind of coming up in the future that's your goal?
Well, a few other programs that we're really interested in are a living snow fence project. We feel like, we have some out in the Waverly area already, but when we plant different trees and shrubs in what we call a living snow fence, we can help that snow from blowing out onto county roads, and it also provides habitat cover. It's good to keep that moisture in the field, but we find that will be a way to help maybe reduce costs for some of our taxpayers too, if our county road department isn't having to go out and do the enormous amount of plowing that they do. And we watched it work this year in full effect, and it was really amazing. So we'd like to bring that program back. It's an old program that was around in the 90s, and it just kind of got forgotten about, but I think that's something that we want to explore and bring that back. And then we're working with, you mentioned lakes earlier, we're working with Newman Lake. We've got a couple of really good projects going out there. One is to help with some issues around sewering and septics, and then another one is just doing some monitoring out there on that lake. I talked a little bit about the Edge of the Field monitoring program, which is a fantastic comparison. We have 2 fields that are side by side. One's in conventional ag, which is multiple passes across the field, a lot of high disturbance of the soil, and the other field is what we call no-till, which is 1 pass and very little disturbance to the soil. And we have a monitoring system out there watching the runoff, so when we have storm events, we can go out there and we can actually see how much soil is coming off each one of those, and it's a side-by-side comparison. So. And then I think we talked a little bit about River Mile 17, which was a huge project for us this year, where we restored 3,000 feet of stream bank on Hangman Creek, and really we're trying to find solutions to those unstable soils that are continually dropping down and then entering into the Spokane River system as well. That was a fantastic project. We just wrapped that one up. We're hoping to be able to work with subsequent landowners now, adjacent landowners that are interested after they've seen what we were able to do on that project.
That's awesome. And so, we're going to be, having to wrap up our time here shortly.
Sure.
But a couple things I want to ask you is, so what is it, if you could, speak to the citizens to say, come ask us about this, we can help you with that. What's one of those items?
Well, we have so many, but
You
this time of year, we've been blessed this summer. We haven't had a lot of wildfire. Look at the last 3 years in comparison.
Yeah.
But this is the time of year to do your FireWise assessment. So if I could encourage those folks that are in those communities that might have a wildfire issue to call us, that would be fantastic. We'll come out and do a free assessment. We're hoping to be able to put in some cost share funding called Home Ignition Zone this year. So we'd love to be able to help them with that. That's just a prevention program. It's best to get it done now, before they need it, right?
Yes, I completely agree, and,
so
and
if
really
I had one,
encourage
I'd
people.
pick that one for right now.
Okay, and then one of the other things is you have property that you purchased down at Havana and 8th.
Yes.
And so
yes.
can you speak a little bit about that?
Yes, so 2 years ago, it's the old Spokane Rocks Products site, and 8th and Havana, we purchased that 50 acres, and we're looking to restore that. And we're actually doing some work. We're doing a lot of the forestry work right now, cleanup activity, but we're wanting to bring that back into a more natural area. Someday we want to make that our new home, but we're also looking to bring it back to our community as a place that they can go with natural trails and walking, and, so we can help integrate that urban and rural interface and invite the public to come in and experience that in that core, that very industrial core, and have a little piece of nature.
Okay, we just have about a minute left, so is there anything else that you would like to make sure that our citizens know?
Absolutely. Farm and Food Expo, October 25th and 26th, 2-day event that we hold at the Spokane Community College. We're in our 7th year of that. We usually have between 400 and 500 attendees. Tickets go on sale September 1st, so they can check out our website for that. And we will have over 40 different classes and workshops to offer.
And what is your website again, just so they know?
Yeah, sccd.org.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So I'm afraid that we're out of time, and I want to thank Vicki for being here. I really appreciate all the information that you've provided us. I know that we've enjoyed learning about the Spokane Conservation District, and as a reminder to our audience, all of our Spokane County Spotlights can be accessed on our website and YouTube channel. You can also listen on the go and download our Spokane County Spotlights as a podcast on the SoundCloud or iTunes apps. Just go to one of those apps and search for Spokane County. I'm County Commissioner Mary Cuney. Thank you for joining us today on the Spokane County Spotlight. Thank you, Vicki.
Thanks, Mary.